Okay, on the count of 3, 2, 1, smile, expressions, we're starting. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the new episode of Unlock, an online series which we have started to engage the industry experts to hear their views about the opportunities during and post coronavirus lockdown, and also to learn how to keep yourself motivated during this tense time by unlocking our potentials with a can-do positive attitude. So I would like to welcome our today's special guest. We have Mr. Zouhair Khaliq, who's a renowned industry expert. He's currently the founder of Team Up, which is the largest arm of Pakistan's, one of the largest incubation centers called NIC, National Incubation Center. Prior to establishing Team Up and NIC, Mr. Khaliq was the CEO of the largest cellular network in Pakistan, Mobilink, where he led the market from 1 million subscribers to 31 million subscribers, with a revenue generation of overall 1.4 billion US dollars. An excellent opportunity for all of us to interact and engage with him and learn and get the motivation required during this time now. Along with Mr. Khaliq, we have our regular panelist, Mr. Neville Gond, who has joined all the way from UK, London. He is the CEO of MindFit. As you can see the map behind Mr. Neville, the can do, can't do, and won't do map. And he's also the global chairman of YP2G, Your Passport to Grow. Along with Mr. Neville, we have the only one, Mr. Kamran Rizvi, the corporate trainer, currently the CEO of Carnelian. A motivational speaker, everybody knows him. So let me kickstart with a question, Mr. Khaliq. Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, all big names, they tried for full digital optimization, transformation, but they failed. However, we have COVID-19, which has brought everyone on the digital world, and as we are talking, we are equally interacting with each other. So what do you foresee? I mean, where are we going?
Well, I think it's very interesting you mentioned that, because I had a meme the other day from somebody, one of those WhatsApp group things, and they said, who's responsible for your digital transformation? Is it the CTO, is it the CEO, or is it COVID-19? And the answer was COVID-19. Ironically enough. So it is something that, we've all struggled with, I think, because we're just used to certain things, certain ways. We are so used to interacting with people, pressing the flesh, as Neville was saying earlier, and talking face to face. And that is the natural human nature. I think there's nothing you can do to take that away. But given the circumstances we have today, I think we're all being forced to go down the other route. And in a way, I think long term, we look back on this time and say, this was a turning point. We will go digital, whether we wanted to or not, whether we liked it or not. I think we are going to have to go down that route, whether it's individuals or corporations. I think it's something that everybody's now suddenly waking up to. To me, you can look at a glass half empty or half full. This I see as half full from that point of view. I know it's tough when you are isolated, you're working from home, and we'll cover some of those things later. But the way I see it going is a larger proliferation of digital interaction with people. I'm not new to it. I was saying to Kamran earlier, I've been practicing this for maybe around 18 or 20 years now. I used to travel half the world and then come back and spend 1 or 2 weeks literally out of the dining room in my home, because I didn't have a study at the time. And one end of it was set up with my laptop and my files and everything else. And I see that happening more and more with people now. I think that is probably going to be the way to go. Also, I think there's going to be a realization with people that, hey, it's not that bad, I mean, why am I going to commute, half an hour or an hour to my workplace when all I have to do is to get up, turn on the laptop, and I can still do 90% of the work, I would argue, that we do daily in our lives, especially the ones who are office-bound people, can still get that work done. So I see a proliferation of this going forward. There are going to be issues. I think we were discussing that here in Pakistan. internet traffic has gone up by 22% in the last 3 weeks. Now, that's going to put pressure on the internet providers, the fixed line operators, and even the mobile operators, because suddenly more bandwidth is being used. I think it's going to be a wake-up call for the operators and the fixed line operators, but it's also going to be a huge wake-up call for governments, because they will need to recognize that the access to internet is going to be now a human necessity, and they can't keep charging the kind of ridiculous license fees and rates and taxes that most governments have benefited from over the years. So I think that's going to change drastically, and a lot of rethink will have to be done to make sure that this whole thing, the way it's panning out, is actually sustainable.
Very well defined. So 90% work, he feels, I think pretty much everybody is saying that they've been used to working, virtually somehow or the other. They have been engaged in the past also. But Kamran,
I mean, sorry, just to add to that, I mean, 90% for, as I said, for people who are already, let's say, desk-bound work, okay? So I'm not talking about, obviously, people whose life is built on, like the daily wage workers, the builders, the decorators, the painters, the delivery people, and so on. So there is another whole, section of the public who have different types of jobs, which obviously will need to be adapted in a different way. But for those of us who are desk-bound, mostly anyway, I think this will change drastically.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just touching base. Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Khaliq. Kamran bhai, other day we were just having an informal discussion, and you used the word which we use in Urdu called bamboo, which, why don't you just take it over from there and sort of explain and,
Yes, I thought I would like to talk about the bamboo time. After a few questions have been entertained, I realized that there is a beautiful question from Arsalan Yaqub in the Q&A box. So I was wanting to perhaps get him on, and then maybe Neville could shed some light, and Zouhair being our primary guest. Let's go that route, and then the bamboo will come, I can assure you, during the...
Okay. I don't think we're going to stop the bamboo.
Okay, that's nice. That's good, Kamran bhai. Just to encourage the participants, as Kamran bhai mentioned, that you can post your questions. As we see, one question already been posted by Mr. Arsalan Yaqub Khan. The question is, we have a fear that employer may reduce salary and make redundant. It's important that people has to feed their kids, parents, family, etc., do their monthly rents, bills, fuels, etc. Should we take this stress, focus on work, or require new qualification? What should we do? I think it's an open question. Starting again, Mr. Zouhair Khaliq, you being a special guest, and then we'll have Kamran bhai and Nawal to address it.
Okay, look, I mean, yes, to an extent, what will happen is that all employers, all corporations will start reviewing the way they've done business in the past and try and adapt to the new circumstances. That doesn't automatically mean that your job will be made redundant. That may mean, in fact, that you will be asked to do it differently. As I said earlier, maybe more digital, more online stuff, and everybody will have to adapt to that drastic change. I would not stress about it at the moment. I think there is enough going around, enough stress as it is, worrying about the virus, staying away, social distancing, whether it's your spouse, your children, and whatever else. So I think that stress is already there. I would focus on the work at hand and try and deliver to the best of our abilities. There is some learning that happens when you suddenly put in a position where instead of commuting daily to a desk job, you're suddenly bound at home at the other end of the dining table or the kitchen table, or if you're fortunate enough in a separate room with a desk. So all of those things are enough stress as is. I would argue, focus on the work, guys, and keep doing it, keep delivering the best. Because again, the bottom line is that when employers come to, God forbid, let go of people, they will not let go of the people who've been productive and who've been, standing right up there delivering. It's only the people who may be considered not as good that are let go first. And nobody can let go everybody, because I mean, work's still going to go on, jobs will happen, businesses will continue, but in a different way.
Yeah, if I can sort of interject, Zouhair, absolutely, 100%, exactly what you said there. Focus on the here and now, because if you start to second guess what's going on, one thing you will do is you will create more stress. That's just a fact of life. So I've learned a new term in the UK, and it's called furloughing. Yeah, exactly, furloughing. And it's people that are put on long-term leave, but paid leave up to 80% of your salary. What that means is, in the UK, you're not allowed to do any work. So they're temporarily putting you on long-term leave, because when the recovery comes, they will take you straight back into the organisation. I mean, you can't go on holiday because with a lockdown, just as you are in Pakistan and other parts of the world. So if you want to draw a map of the house to go on holiday, move from the bathroom to the kitchen and create your own map per se, but keep yourself active. So here you've got some fantastic books behind you. I'm sure you've probably read them all at one stage of your life, but now's the opportunity for people to go and read a book. Get some enjoyment out of it, but at the same time, even if you go on binge on Netflix and you start to watch some really good films, start to think differently about it. What does that mean? Not pure entertainment, but think of it from a leadership or personal development point of view. Why did they say that? What was going through their mind at the time? And you start to become a bit of an investigator, which actually is a perfect way of changing what you do. Because if you just continue what you're doing and you don't think about what you're doing, you're never going to improve. And the other thing is, to change, you have to do something differently. And now we've got an opportunity to do things differently, to read a book backwards if necessary, if that turns you on. But again, don't worry about where tomorrow's going. Focus on the important things today. Your family is important to you, your friends, relations, your workplace, and build those relationships deeper so that you can rely upon them when you do get stressed. Because this is not, we're not here for the short term. I'm sure the four of us agree on here, this is not a matter of weeks, and perhaps not just a matter of months. This might be at least a year by the time things start to unfold and get back to what we might have thought was normal. So my advice is take this as an opportunity to develop yourself, be a bit more resilient, understand who you are, what you are, why you do it. And when you come out of this, as Zouhair quite rightly said, it's the people with the right attitude that are going to get the jobs.
Thank you, Neville. I think very well said. And I'll add to that a little bit from my own personal experience over the years of working from home sometimes. It's very, very critical that you mark out a space in the home, wherever that might be. As I said, even if it's one end of the kitchen table or a separate room, if you're lucky enough to have a room where you can be, and set it up so that you actually go there with intent and purpose every day. It's also it's very, very critical that you maintain a discipline during this time, because you can't. I've always said I still take my shower. I'll still do everything I would do otherwise. I will dress up in a clean shirt and trousers and whatever, and still go and start my work at the normal time, say 9 a.m. in the morning. I would then, as Neville said, also take time out, because we can now with this new situation, in a way, we are fortunate. Maybe you want to read a book. Maybe I would always go for a walk. At least carve out 1 hour where I can just go for a walk, and then I can actually enjoy lunch with my spouse. I can actually sit down and have a proper conversation. The other thing I've started doing over the last couple of days is make a list of all the friends I've had over the years, all over the world. And I consider myself blessed that I have those friends. And I'm saying every evening after 6 o'clock, I'm going to send a message out to a couple and say, hey, let's catch up. And I've been doing that over the last couple of, literally the last week. And it's delightful because these are people who are dear to you, but you're so busy otherwise, commuting or running around and whatever else, that you don't get a chance to actually talk to them. And I've had the greatest pleasure over the last week of actually talking to people, catching up and saying, how are you doing? How are your kids? What are you up to? And all of that, I think, is a nice new mindset in a way, because it gets you closer to friends, to family, to relatives, and carve that time out. And literally in your calendar, build time for all of this stuff. And then, yeah, go watch Netflix or whatever. I'm watching some excellent serials from the past where I probably watched them 15 or 20 years ago, but it's a delight to just go back and watch them again. And you just discover new stuff there. So enjoy the time as well, and don't get stressed out.
Ji Kamran bhai.
Yes, I must say that, Zouhair's one word, adapt, I think is key in terms of the situation we are in, because it is not the strongest that survive, it is those who adapt to the new changing conditions. And the part where Neville comes in and he literally, hits it on the nail when he says, now, and not to be caught up in the fear of the future part, because that can cloud the mind. So focusing on the now. These two are very, very important. And here I want to just take a step back and say that it is extremely natural for us to have a reflex response to a shocking situation that has unfolded. And I feel that the majority of us, including yours truly, has gone through a major shock in the sense of how the world has changed. And what happens in a situation like this is that we either fight or flight. And this fight and flight response is, I think, currently dominating most of us out there. And what I find is that this is happening and it is natural. And the more we become aware of it, the more we can curb that tendency, because it stems from a fear of, what's going to happen? Whatever is going to happen will happen. However, the way to deal with that is to calm ourselves after having gone through this stage of fear and anxiety and stress, because what happens is in stress, our immune system is weakened simply because the chemicals flow into our limbs and we become more susceptible to the threats that we are faced with at this point in time. So it's only when we are going to get calm that we will acquire the balance we require in order to then focus on self-development and utilizing this time, connecting with people and looking for creative solutions, not just for revenue generation, but to rebuild lost connections. Because one thing I feel COVID has really done is saved us so much time in terms of travel. I was just asking myself, in the last 2 weeks, I have not traveled. So how much fuel have I saved? How much hours of aggravation and queuing up have I saved? It has been immense. And that saving can be deployed towards family that has been neglected for so long. And Zouhair so rightly mentioned that organizing your day and having a space where you can actually focus on work and have a space where you can play and be with, I feel is critical at this point in time. Very important to discipline and live each day as though it is life, as opposed to worrying about tomorrow, Neville. That's frankly where I am. And I think that if anyone is fearful right now and in a fight-flight mode. That's natural. It is not to worry about, but soon you need to come to calm. And I'm so glad you said this. Neville, a lot of people are waiting for April, the end of April, and assuming that things will get better and that they'll be back on the road. My fear is that if after this pandemic, we go back to business as usual, then we have learned nothing.
Nothing.
It is our excessive habits which have ruined the world. Nature is taking a revenge. I mean, we have abused it for so long in our mad rush to make money and to go out there and compete, that I think it's time to slow down. And this is one aspect which I feel is a great opportunity for us to pause, reflect, reset, and come out a better and a newer and a more capable human being, relevant for the times we are going to get into.
Very well said. Slow down.
You're absolutely right. If I can just pick up on one small thing there,
Sure.
how as business owners, we create plans. We have objectives, missions, whatever you want to call it. We've also got daily objectives. And sometimes those daily objectives don't actually happen. And immediately as a business owner, you adjust your expectation. That's who we are, that's who we've been. But as Cameron says quite rightly, he went through shock. I went through shock. You know, it was a shock. In 2008, we four here went through another shock called the financial crisis. And if we were running businesses at that time, it was a real financial shock. You know, can we continue to keep the business going? Can we pay the wages? So the only point I would say here is, by managing the organization's expectations as a leader, owner, manager, you need to manage your own first. And that's vitally important. And if you're not managing your own, that's going to come forward to the people that you're not just engaging with, but you're managing, or you're trying to say, inspire them to come out the other side. So it's absolutely vital we manage our own expectations. And one thing is, it's natural to be worried. We are human beings. But you can get out of that very quickly if you structure yourself. Go for a walk, have a cup of tea, you know, go for a longer walk if necessary, but get yourself back on track. And anyone can do that. What works for you may be different from what works for other people. Zouhair said he goes for a walk. I go for a walk too. I used to go for a run, but I'm a little bit old these days to do that sort of thing. So again, the passage of time changes what you do. So, say again?
I said, don't worry, I have the same issue.
The good thing, though, Zouhair, at the moment is the air quality is improved.
Yes,
there aren't
tremendous.
Many cars.
Fantastic.
So actually, it's far more pleasant to go for that walk. So there are some benefits here. So let's not forget that there are benefits. Shall we dip into the question, Ali?
Yeah, I mean, just on a lighter note, I saw a video the other day. The guy was playing cricket at home, with the proper kit and helmet, and hitting the ball in the room, and then running on the treadmill, making runs. So that's
delightful.
But let me go to the question box, since now we've
again,
discussing.
That's a brilliant example of how innovative we can be.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, I was hiding under the helmet. So anyhow, the question, we have an interesting question from Mr. Syed Ghazi on the question box, that addressing to Mr. Zouhair Khaliq, that while we are talking about the challenges and the constraints, I would like to ask, where does Mr. Khaliq see opportunities, specifically emerging markets like in Pakistan?
Yeah, I mean, an interesting question. You can answer it several different ways. I personally think what will happen is, because the world is getting more digital, we have a lot of people, especially young people, who are enabled in a technology sort of way much better. What I would urge people to think about is that a lot of the BPO type stuff, the outsourcing stuff from the West, will probably increasingly come towards places like Pakistan, because we have the talent, we have the skill set, but what we probably need to do is position ourselves a little better in terms of our branding and in terms of our ability to deliver, and thus become more reliable. And I think if we focus on some of those issues, that could be a very, very good opportunity. A lot of the software houses that we have can produce amazing stuff, which perhaps in other parts of the world is far more expensive to produce. And I'm comparing ourselves even with places like now China, Cambodia, the Philippines, and I think we have an opportunity to position ourselves in that area. And if there's retraining to be done, guys, that's where probably the retraining might be a focus. So coming back to my original comment, if you don't want to go for a walk or a run, I'll give you an example of my own daughter, who's 24 years old, who's been confined to working from home for the last 3 weeks. And she signed up for a new marketing course, for example, because she's in the marketing and PR side of things. And she's spending at least a couple of hours a day on an online course, retraining herself or enhancing her skills. And I think that's part of what you should be doing. Don't try and do something that you haven't done before, because that would just create additional stress. But I would look at things which complement your additional existing skill sets, and see if you can enhance some of those through an online course, for example.
And if I may, Ali, can I?
Sure, Kamran.
Zouhair has pointed out to opportunities, and he rightly said that there are many ways of looking at it. I would take more the inner opportunity, which is to develop through the courses, as he mentioned. There's a saying in Urdu, "Jaan hai to jahan hai." Yeah. And you know, when we are fit and alive, then there is opportunity to encash. And Neville, that was for your benefit. And MindFit is right up there. So I feel that in this context, very interestingly, I find that out of anxiety, people are taking unnecessary risks, putting their health and the health of the loved ones at risk. So first caution would be that please stay home and be creative in that setting, because you will not only expose yourself, but others to danger otherwise. So this is one part that I thought I must, as a social responsible message, give out to people, that in search for opportunities, do not go beyond virtual at this point in time. Be very, very careful. The other part, I think, which is crucial, is that discipline part, whereby I think mentors, you know, I must tell you that this is a golden opportunity for us to connect with people that we could not previously think of connecting because we were so busy. And I have found that a few people that I advised, I said, go on the net, look at the people that you admire, search them, read up on them. You'll find them on LinkedIn, you'll find them on Google, and they have some profiles on Wikipedia as well. And approach them, message them, and meet them on such forums. And you'll be surprised how many of them are now making themselves available, like Zouhair has made himself available. Neville has made himself available. Ali, you yourself are so concerned that you want to facilitate and help and make sure that people are guided in terms of certain practices that may be of great benefit to them. So I just thought that Jaan hai to jahan hai has to be put in here. So look after yourself, and then opportunities will follow from that. So there are so many chat questions and Q&A.
Yeah,
Ali.
very, very relevant, Kamran Bhai. And folks, let me request you, if you really want to also have an audio conversation, you can always raise your hand. There's a hand icon available on your consoles. If you click on it, I'll be able to unmute your microphone so you can have an audio conversation with.
Let's hear some of them, and then we can make points.
Yeah. So let me go to another interesting question we have on the chat box from Asma Sethi. Open to all the panelists and the guests. What do you suggest job seekers do at this stage, despite following a productive routine? Uncertainty about about future gets a bit frustrating. I'm an experienced HR person seeking a career move to digital transformation.
Okay. And can we take other questions as well, I think, and then probably Zouhair could bundle them. What do you think, Zouhair?
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds fine. Yeah.
Because we don't have much time, and I know that we'll be concluding in an hour, within an hour.
There's another supplementary from Mr. Ghazi that wouldn't you agree that a major input into the likelihood of us being calm is directly a consequence of the people we spend our time with, the information we choose to consume. That's an interesting one. Then
well, let me just pick that one up, because if you're glued to the news channels all day long, as you could be in the UK, because the BBC has decided to do a 24/7, every single snippet you like about COVID-19, who's in hospital, who isn't in hospital, which minister's got it, which minister hasn't got it, you can confuse yourself rotten. So the key to this is choose wisely. So if you want to get updated on what is happening out there, put a time in your diary where you will go and find out. And that will help you get rid of a lot of fake news. It will help you focus on reality, because again, I'll bring this back to leadership. Leaders act on reality. If they have to keep plugging gaps in their understanding, in their information, then they're guessing. It may be a really good qualified guess, but nonetheless we're guessing. So as business owners, entrepreneurs, people in the NIC, we work on facts, and let's stick to that, okay? Because that's a real big opportunity now to find out how good your awareness is in rifling out the rubbish and getting to some facts and acting on it. And the other thing is, of course, we've got four. I'll include myself because I'm on the panel. So there's a leap of faith. We got four very experienced people. We wanted to be on this panel. We wanted to speak openly to everybody else. We're not hidden from people. They can hear us, they can see us, and they can understand us, and they can connect with us afterwards, because this is about helping people succeed. So yes, this is about working with people you trust. And like when I was very young, someone said, if you're the best in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
Exactly. It doesn't take much to work that one out, really. But sometimes you need to be the mentor in the room that is the best in the room. So when you get a little older, you get the balance. When you're younger, actually don't be the best in the room, because you'll never learn anything. So it's like in the UK we have this thing is, don't buy the best house in the street. Buy the one at the bottom and make it over, because then you've got an opportunity to make money. So just think of it simply, really. And I think there's another phrase that's used in America. Hover towards a radiator. Keep away from the drains. The drains will suck you dry into the sewers. The radiators will bring out a glow. Okay, so all of these little acronyms that you learn over the years and over the world can suddenly have meaning. Have you got one in Pakistan that has that type of flavour? Maybe even in Urdu.
Yeah, we do have, but right now one doesn't come to mind.
Or we can't say it publicly.
Yeah. And even the bamboo is being held back.
So yeah, let me jump in because we are pressed on time also. So the question, I believe, Kamran, which Asma had raised about the job seeker moving from as HR person to digital transformation. Zouhair bhai, or Kamran bhai, you start with it, and then.
Yeah,
let's Zouhair first. I'll follow you, Zouhair. I'll follow you.
Thank you, Kamran. So, look, I mean, for job seekers, obviously, my immediate response to that would be, because this is not going to happen, as we said previously, in the next week or 2 weeks or even a month. I'm planning for the National Incubation Center, all activities up to the end of June right now will happen as we are doing right now. Okay, mostly online, digital, and away from the actual facility. So I think that is how you should view and plan the rest of your life for now. Look at it at least till the end of June and see what happens after. But in the meantime, this is an ideal opportunity for job seekers to enhance the skill set they have through some sort of digital learning. A lot of courses are free, by the way, so you don't really need to end up paying for them. A lot of effort also in what both Kamran and Neville mentioned, in terms of seeking out mentorship and guidance from people who are, say, more experienced than yourself, and you can reach out to them and they will guide you. This is an ideal opportunity for job seekers to read around the subjects that they are focused on. In this case, the Asma is an HR professional. Now, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of reading material online available for free, which you can read and enhance your understanding of the role, understanding of what's going out, what's happening out there, and so on. And it's also an ideal opportunity to train yourself digitally, because this is not going to go away. Even when things come back to some sort of normal, a lot of people will insist that digital is the way to go, online is the way to go. So if you aren't in that category, take this time to train yourself. And then again, emphasis again on this thing about taking a bit of time for yourself. Let's call it me time. Try and get more me time if you can, because you'll never get this opportunity again. Once the treadmill starts again and the roller coaster starts again, you'll look back on this time and say, oh shit, I should have done something better. So stop wasting that time and enjoy it, cherish it, and utilize it for self-improvement.
Thank you, Zouhair. And Ali, if I may just chip in.
Sure,
Asma's question, I think, is very critical in the sense that it also touches a lot of HR professionals who are currently facing challenges. So what I found was that majority of HR activities are so prone to being digitized. For example, even selection and recruitment can be done through video interviews and questionnaires, and psychometric tests and personality assessments can be done digitally. Learning and development and coaching is also now happening digitally. In fact, recently I've been having a set of people who, we had a program that was earlier sort of pretty conventional, but has been converted to an online platform where we are doing small groups and individuals. So I have a feeling that HR, in terms of attracting talent, in terms of developing talent, and in terms of ensuring that they're retained, there are many digital avenues. Not that it fully substitutes physical contact, but it augments significantly the aspects that can be done offline as well. And most companies have people working from home at this point in time, and which this connectivity, an HR person could be adding immense value to organizations that are also under stress. So my message to Asma and all HR professionals would be, as Zouhair has also mentioned, look out for how one can deliver equal value, if not more, through digital means. That's my 2 bits.
Very good. Very good. And now let me see, because the participants are excited equally. So we have 2 who have raised a hand. So let me go first. Mr. Arsalan Yaqub Khan, sir, you have raised your hand. Allowed you to talk yourself, but you have to unmute yourself now, your mic, to be able to speak up. So could you introduce yourself first and ask a quick question, because we're pressed on time?
Hi, sir. This is Arsalan. I'm the financial controller at Daud Foundation. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to attend this amazing session. Sir, I have a question that people have fear by seeing some companies that their salaries may be reduced, they may be made redundant by the employers, and at the same time, it is important for the people to feed their kids, parents, families, and do their monthly rents, bills, fuels, etc. So, what should we and what should they do? Should they take the stress, focus on work, and acquire new qualification in this current situation?
Thank you for the question, but I believe you asked this question which was already addressed. However, I'll let the panelists to decide if they want to make any further comments on it, or we move.
So, yes,
very quickly, I would say that a lifestyle change is in order. So if we have a budget, we just have to cut it in a manner where we're able to drastically change our spending habits in most regards, most respects. And I think most people are doing this. So that how do you get your monthly budget to carry you for 3 months, as an example? So that budgeting exercise must be done in a collaborative way within the family, with the staff, because if you're affected, everyone around you is affected. So I think budgets have to be reviewed domestically significantly so that 1 month can stretch to 3. Lifestyle changes are highly recommended right now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So let me go. We have another one who's raised a hand. Sayyid Ghazi, you have raised your hand. Sayyid, could you please introduce yourself and ask a question?
Hello, hi. So, Sayyid Ghazi, it's been an extremely interesting discussion, so thank you for inviting me. I work for Accenture. I run their, I help build their global center of innovation, and I run a small 45-person innovation team and help corporates essentially innovate, so Fortune 100 businesses. And I'm sure you can appreciate how difficult it is to move these large organizations to do something new. So I just wanted to get your opinion on what we're seeing right now. And I suppose the best way of describing it is by sort of using 2 Frenchmen. Jean-Baptiste Carr said, you know, the more things change, the more they remain the same. And we're seeing a little bit of that. And it also sort of reminds one of Voltaire, who said, like, you know, history never repeats itself, but man always does. And so while we're seeing that there will be certain structural changes, things will sort of move faster. You know, some things will move faster than others, like they always do. But one thing that we're not really seeing change is human behavior, and specifically human behavior in groups. It is becoming extremely predictable. This is sort of more evident now than ever before, given how interconnected we are. So I think I'm really interested in what MindFit can contribute here, because I think one of the sort of you know, key propositions of MindFit is that you can predict the attitude of your workforce, and therefore get ahead of it by changing it a little bit. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you for asking. So Neville, I guess it's coming to the MindFit then.
Contrary to belief, attitude change is easy. Cultural change is easy. And that may have challenged you prior to lockdown, but we've got a classic example of change through an instruction. And talking to Zouhair earlier, it's common sense. It's the way we can stop this virus spreading. It won't stop the virus. It buys us time. So that, as in many other areas, it's called flattening the curve. So that we don't have hundreds of buses turning up, going into the hospital situation that cannot cope. So how do we change people? Well, good coaches and mentors can help people change. But fundamentally, we have to ask ourselves the question, do I want to change? Because if the answer's yes, my next question to you is going to say, well, what are you going to do then? Because our problem is we don't really know what we currently do, that a small change is going to make a huge difference. So this is the earlier bit where Zouhair was talking about the external opportunities, and Cameron was saying, actually, it's the internal that you need to fix as well. So this is a bit of a balance. You need to understand who you are, where you are, and what you're doing. In other words, your level of awareness, because then a really small change can have a huge impact. And it's what those small changes have done for you that gives you the momentum to make a bigger change and another change and another change. Let me give everyone a very simple example, and I say this all the time, so apologies to the guys here on the panel that probably heard this. When we were very young, in other words, a baby, we all learned to walk. We didn't read a book, we didn't go to university or school, we looked around and decided, oh, that looks a good idea, I'm going to go do it. So I start to walk, and we fell over, and it might have hurt, but we got up again because we wanted to walk. And ultimately, we became quite good at walking. And some people then took that on to the next level. They become professional runners. They go into the Olympics. But we all started from learning how to walk. Or perhaps our change process as we go through needs to start exactly there. Just imagine you're now an 8-month-old baby sitting there looking at everybody else saying, that's a good idea, I want to walk, I'm going to go and do it. And that's how change happens. And once you start to do it, you get good at it. And it builds all of these other soft skills that we talk about, but we just assume everyone has it, like confidence. Confidence to come on this panel and pose a question to the panel. That's confidence. Takes a bit of courage. Does it come naturally? Of course it does, but only if you practice it. So change can happen, but it has to be that internal driver. It may be the external opportunity has driven you internally, but it may be the internal drive that is so pronounced. You know, certainly, you know, Cameron and Zouhair, your careers have flourished in the way you wanted them to. You chose what you wanted to do. A lot of people don't think they've got a choice. Well, I've got news for you. You've got a choice to do anything you want. It may take time to change, but time, as Zouhair said at the moment, time is actually what we've all got a lot of. So you can drive this fast, and again, it's about purpose. We talk a lot about having a purpose in life. Without a purpose, you won't drive yourself. I hope that helps you, Syed.
Thank you. I appreciate, Neville, and you and I can talk about this for hours, because I agreed with pretty much everything you said right till the end, where you said time is something we have a lot of, and I sort of believe that's the sort of least we have, like that's the commodity that we have, the least amount, and we can never get more. What is gone is gone. But no, thank you. Very helpful. Makes sense.
Thank you, Syed, for posing the question. And Kamran Bhai, you wanted to add something on it quickly before we move to
again, I would like to point to Syed's very profound question, which covers history as well and the patterns that we see. Bruce Lipton, I wonder if Syed Ghazi has had a chance to listen to Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton. Have you?
I have indeed.
What do you learn from him? Because 95% of what we are doing is all programmed. And unless we become conscious, we're not going to change anything. And Voltaire would be proven right. What do you have to say about that?
So, I mean, Lipton is, a sort of celebrated biologist. There is another one called Stephen Jay Gould, who came up with the idea of punctuated equilibrium. I don't know if you're familiar with the idea.
Well, I think it's good that you mentioned this. Other members in the audience would benefit from reviewing both Bruce Lipton and the other name that you mentioned. This recording, of course, you'll be sharing this recording on Facebook or LinkedIn. Yes, Ali?
Yeah.
Good.
Yes, Kamran Bhai.
Thank you. Zouhair, your take on this, because I think Syed Ghazi's question was pretty, I could resonate with that.
Sure. Look, I mean, my view on this is, Syed, is that, you know, we all want to change the world. And as you get older, you realize that's the one thing you can't do. But what you can do is change yourself and the way you respond to what people are doing. And I think that's critical in the way change will happen. Because you've got to look inside you and say, how am I reacting to what people are doing? And it's your reactions which determine the next stage, whether it's, you know, words mentioned earlier, stress, flight, fright, whatever else that goes on in your mind. But also it's an opportunity to say, can I react differently to what other people are doing and the way they're behaving? Can I change my own behavior? And I think that's the first thing you need to do, is to look inside you and see how you can do that. And I can assure you that once you've done that, once you've achieved that miracle in a way, the rest of the world will change, because it's the way you see them at the moment is how you are determining who they are. So I think that's very, very important to do. Look inside and bring about that change of how you react to other people.
Thank you.
That's good. Thank you, Syed, for a very interesting question. And everybody was intrigued. Quite a stimulation was done. So now, you know, I'm just looking at the clock before we actually wind it up. Any quick concluding remarks that you would like to give, by starting from you and then Neville and Kamran?
Yes, sure. I mean, look, I will reiterate all of the things that we've said so far. It's very important because this is a unique time. It was never envisioned. Nobody ever saw it coming, but it's here. It's here now. And what we need to be able to do is to say, how do we utilize this time in the best way possible? And the best way possible is to do the self-improvement and the change within us. And if we can achieve those things, and we can achieve some discipline in the process, if we are able to reconnect with our family, our friends, our loved ones, who inevitably in our daily lives we tend to ignore, I think that would take us a long way forward. It would reduce some of the stresses, some of the strains, and think of the now, think of what is possible now. If the only thing possible is to get online and chat with somebody and then just go for a walk, well, guess what? You know, it's things that you never did till a couple of months ago. So embrace it, embrace the change. And I think it's been said before, you know, those who don't change will die. The ones who will adapt and you know, look forward to the change are the ones who will succeed and who will carry life forward.
Neville.
Neville, you still there? All right. Maybe Neville has a technical glitch. Kamran, bye, over to you.
Yes. Everything that Zouhair said, and I must say that I salute him for his ability to summarize. I wish I could do it as well. I hope I can. What I would say is that we'll all die sooner or later. And frankly, what we are going through is a big shift, yes, but death is something we can't avoid. It is going to happen sooner or later. And I have a feeling that living each day with gratitude and using this opportunity to think of others beyond ourselves would be a very important thing. Because can you imagine that in a country of 220 million in Pakistan, those listening in right now and us, we are in the top 5% or even less. And I feel that the screaming that I hear is very loud. And it is because these individuals are lacking awareness, they're lacking education, a support system. And in our own community, in our own small circle, if we can see a smile on a person's face, and if we can just do a small gesture, I think by giving, this is the time when we will become happier, better, and more grateful. And to utilize the time, as Zouhair has rightly mentioned, and Neville has emphasized, I think that's what it is, giving and feeling the pain of the millions out there and not thinking that it's only me. Survival is not just for us. We're all in the same boat, by the way. It sinks, we all sink. So it's important that we care not only for ourselves, but around us as much as we can without risking our lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Neville, unfortunately you had some glitch, but you're back now, I assume. Neville, you there? I guess we have lost him again, but so let me thank all of you, especially Mr. Zouhair Khaliq, for sparing time to appear on this live interactive show. We call it Unlock. We're trying to unlock the potential by hearing more motivational, inspirational figures like yourself, and Kamran Bhai and Neville have been quite a catalyst on this show. Neville, are you back before I just conclude? Or?
Ali?
Yeah, I'm afraid I don't know whether Zoom likes the UK at the moment, but I got some of that, but I am back. I've been listening for the last 30 seconds.
I hear you, but now I need just 30-second sort of a pitch of to conclude.
To conclude, do what feels right now. Just get on and do something that is benefit for you, benefit to your family, your friends, and an organisation if you've got one. I just want to make a pitch, actually. I don't know whether we've pitched this, but I'm doing quite a few hackathons around the world. And I know Zouhair is about to do a hackathon at NIC, which has got some great principles. And so when you tell everyone what's going on, and let's see if people can throw some real innovation into the discussion and get us out the other end.
Yeah,
I may have lost you all.
Yeah, no, we have. No, thanks, Neville. We got it.
Ali, before you wrap up, I think there are some very interesting questions from people like Hassan Raza, Khwaja Saifur Rahman, Jatinder Dharani, Sayyid Ghazi we have taken into account, but there's a guy called, or lady, Vivo1723. Could you possibly share these questions on the web? Because I think what will happen is it will stimulate everyone. I don't know if the recording will contain these questions or not. I'm not sure. But
yes,
the interaction has been remarkable. And I think that it is questions that lead to answers. And I've been stimulated as much as those listening.
No, Kamran Bhai, definitely, yes. And all of those, in fact, I was coming to it, all of those who have participated and they've posted their questions and made it a very interactive experience for all of us. Unfortunately, I could not read all of them, but yes, we will try to create a platform where we can further engage them and encourage them to keep on coming every week and post more questions to our guests and panelists down the road as we move forward. But yes, it's been a wonderful experience, and I thank you, all of the gentlemen, for taking the time. And just to conclude on a positive note, and we've been talking about opportunities, transformation, digital transformation. I was just talking to one of the digital experts who's managing a very, very large retail setup from Pakistan, which has been, bought over by some international investors already. And they're keeping an eye. They have already planning to jump up on their transactions from 20,000 to 50,000 transactions per day. And this is where they are mobilized now. And despite the odds of lockdown, they are, with the delivery system is closed, they are gearing up for a very, very robust, upcoming delivery mechanism as soon as we open up. And they just did some litmus test, and the witness almost tripled, their sales jump triple. This is what they just told me. So, that's very positive to see, how things will evolve. We were just hearing about Food Panda giving trainings to home-based people to cook, and they will pick up the foods. So, everybody's thinking creatively these days, and I'm sure we'll have a lot to see down the road as we move on. And so stay positive, develop that can-do attitude that we always advocate about. So we're going to stick on. So definitely. So thank you very much, all of you, especially Zouhair Bhai for taking the time, and Neville and Kamran Bhai for joining in, and all of those who participated and for your questions. So stay tuned. You all have a good day. Good afternoon.
Ali, before you go, we are meeting next Monday again, 5:15 as now.
Yes, I haven't announced it. Yes, we are trying to have it a weekly show. So definitely we're going to be back next week, same time, 5:15 p.m. with the new guests. And I look forward to seeing you all. So please do participate. And you can always send your questions in advance during the registration process for joining in. So, and I'll be happy to read them over on your behalf. Yeah. So thank you very much. I'm going to end this. So you all will be automatically dismissed out. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.